Hi everyone, Wise the Knee Guy Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Lil Durk project, Almost Healed. New record over here from Chicago drill scene legend The Voice, Lil Durk. The man is essentially a veteran of the game at this point, with some of his oldest mixtapes being 10 years old or more, which is like 30 in Chicago years. The violence and gang activity in the Windy City has been a hot topic and a huge draw in the world of hip-hop for a while now. Not just in terms of record sales and up-and-coming artists, but also headlines, social media firestorms, and changing artistic aesthetics in numerous rap scenes in the UK, New York, and beyond. Many artists who were integral to the drill scene explosion in the early 2010s have either moved on, they're focusing less on music, they've found a way to escape, or, tragically, they died. This is not a genre that historically inspires longevity, which is what makes Durk such an interesting case. Despite the numerous beefs and brushes with the law he's been in over the course of his career, dude is still standing and now dropping his 8th full-length LP. I have to give it to Durk because he's usually pretty open about the way he's been impacted by the violence he's either been exposed to or enacted, the loss of close friends and family members, the trauma. I mean, emotional depth in any art form is, of course, good, but it's especially a breath of fresh air in a subgenre where a lot of your competition is trying to seem as invincible and as irrationally cutthroat as possible. And Durk gives us that depth with moments like the opener, where Alicia Keys is moving through a spoken word spiel as if she's Durk's therapist, and this session or album is a place where he can be honest about his feelings and vent. There's obviously the cover here where it's clearly a nod to him healing from the various things he's dealt with and experienced over the years. And also, who can forget the lead single from this project, All My Life, featuring J. Cole, which instrumentally features touching pianos, a really awesome and inspiring kids chorus. The cut is anthemic and moving in the best way possible. There's a lot of bars on this track featuring Durk trying to better himself despite everything working against him. The Cole feature on the track is really impressive too. It's tight, it's expressive, it's witty. He leaves us off with bars about him wishing to see his friends die of old age, which unfortunately is a luxury many rappers are robbed of these days. Now, a record from someone of Durk's stature that deals in these types of messages consistently could have been a classic, maybe even a game changer, at the very least, the best album in his discography. But we really only get a few more whiffs of his introspective side on a few more cuts in the first leg of the record, be it on Pellycoat or Never Again. We then hop into a generic trap banger with Put 'Em on Ice, where Durk spits a very odd bar about pretty feet. Also a weak feature from Chief Wook on Big Dog, and a glamorous auto-tune heavy anthem on Never Imagined, where Future kind of dominates the entirety of the track. While these tracks are not terrible, they don't exactly bring the focus or follow-through that I was hoping this record would have. And it's not too long after this until Durk is really just back in the trenches on these tracks, whether that be on You Got 'Em or Before FAJR, which are both just loaded with debauchery. I mean, considering the content of these songs has been a part of Durk's come up and life experience, I'm not really surprised to hear him dip into exactly this kind of thing on this record. Plus, I'm sure it's something the fans are even expecting to some degree. But War About It with 21 Savage is laced with exactly the kind of drama and inflammatory shots that in Another Breath Durk seems to have reservations about. And don't get me wrong, these tracks are bangers, but they definitely overturn any attempts for this record to be, I guess, kind of an antidote to negativity in the drill scene, or, I don't know, serve as an example of a more positive path one could take. The second half of this LP fails to really firm up any clear direction or point of view too. Some of the oddest moments on the album also turn up here. We have a kind of out-of-breath feature from Kodak Black on Grandson. The beat on 300 Urus is so quiet and in the background, I wonder why it's even there. Then at this point, we stuck Detours very quickly into an auto-tune-drenched, love-sick anthem that I don't think works all that well. And while I understand every rapper is like shooting for a Juice WRLD feature these days, and certainly Durk and him have that Chicago connection, the posthumous feature we get from Juice on the song Cross the Globe is just not one of the best. On top of it, the chorus about kind of prying this girl into having sex with not just you but your friend is a little. Then we also get Stand By Me, a trap country crossover featuring none other than Morgan Wallen, which Durk already took a metaphorical bullet, allowing him to bounce back from all of the racism accusation headlines that came out years ago, and then shortly after, him and Durk dropped a collab track. Yeah, another one of these just was not necessary. There is Moment of Truth, which I think is one of the better tracks in the final leg, but it's barely sufficient as a grand finish or a final statement, as it doesn't really tie much of anything up on this very scatterbrained and inconclusive record. Yeah, unfortunately, despite the fact that I think Durk has the potential and the talent and the pen game and the vulnerability to deliver a much better album, that much better album is not what we got here, as much of the material on this thing is just not up to the quality of moments like All My Life. There are very few thematic through lines for much of the record too, and emotionally, narratively, a lot of it just seems kind of like discombobulated, a little at odds with itself. Not to mention most of the production isn't really all that impressive either. Sadly, despite the high hopes I had for this project, it just didn't really do that much for me, and I'm leaving it pretty indifferent and very unimpressed. I'm feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video you can check out. Hit that up with a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Lil Durk, forever.